Denzel Treverick arrived at the Bellwater Inn after dark. Elfrida knew his footsteps before she saw him. 2 years had passed since she refused his proposal, yet the sight of him still produced the same unwelcome tightening beneath her ribs. He stopped inside the doorway. "Where is my brother?" "Upstairs. The surgeon says he will recover." Relief crossed Denzel's face before pride restored its composure. "You saved him." "I saved a man who was drowning." The distinction landed. Cyprian woke the next morning demanding the broken tow line, the freight manifest, and the notebook recovered from his coat. He explained that he had been examining a suspicious series of cargo claims tied to Felmere warehouses. Elfrida asked why Denzel had not employed an independent surveyor. Silence answered first. "You stopped using my office after I rejected you." Denzel met her gaze. "I stopped because seeing your name on every report became uncomfortable." It was more honesty than she expected. Not enough to erase the past. Elfrida agreed to examine the accident because 2 carrier associations already employed her to review river losses. She would not work for Felmere. Denzel opened his records anyway. No fee. No condition. No claim upon her findings. Ropemaker Tabitha Kern examined the recovered tow line beneath strong window light. The exterior fibers looked naturally worn. Inside, several load-bearing strands had been cut. Then the rope had been tarred again and rubbed roughly to disguise the damage. "It was meant to hold until someone asked too much of it," Tabitha said. Shipping records identified the supplier as one approved by King's Reach Mutual Assurance Society. The same supplier had replaced tow lines on 4 vessels shortly before major cargo losses. Freight captain Mabin Kern supplied another pattern. Months earlier, her barge supposedly carried imported silk and expensive glass when it suffered an accident. The insurer blamed her navigation. Mabin insisted the declared cargo could never have been aboard. She showed Elfrida private draft marks scratched inside the hull. A heavily loaded vessel would have sat considerably lower. The official investigators ignored them. Elfrida compared those measurements with Cyprian's barge. Same contradiction. Premium manifest. Light vessel. Approved rope. Convenient accident. Large insurance claim. Denzel studied the figures. "You believe the accidents are arranged. I believe the paperwork and the river disagree. And which do you trust?" "The river has fewer reasons to lie." Working beside Denzel again proved more difficult than confronting fraud. He still understood figures almost before she finished explaining them. He still removed his coat and examined dirty evidence himself rather than summoning someone else. And he still had the infuriating habit of becoming very quiet when emotion threatened his control. One evening, surrounded by manifests and rope samples, he finally mentioned the proposal. "You thought I wanted to acquire your business. You spoke about our marriage as though you were purchasing a neighboring warehouse. I offered you security. You offered me consolidation." He winced. "That sounds worse when you say it. It sounded worse when you proposed it." For the first time, neither retreated. Elfrida asked the question she had asked 2 years earlier. "Did you love me?" "Yes." No hesitation. No qualifications. She looked away. "Then why could you not answer before?" "Because I was stunned that I had failed so completely to make it obvious." His voice softened. "I thought planning a future with you demonstrated what I felt. You planned what would happen to everything I owned. I know that now." The admission did not repair the old wound. But it changed its shape. They returned to the manifests because neither was ready for anything more. Lockkeeper Fulk Arnstey had recorded vessel drafts for years. Officially, the notes were unnecessary. Practically, they prevented heavily loaded barges from grounding inside his lock. His notebooks showed that several vessels later reported as carrying luxury cargo had passed through riding far too high. Rosamund Hake, an independent warehouse supervisor, examined the cargo seals from those claims. Different warehouses supposedly used different dyes. Yet several impressions shared one tiny crescent-shaped defect. Someone possessed unauthorized duplicate seals. Then Elfrida compared warehouse records. Original loading entries listed ordinary freight. Insurance copies transformed. Cotton into silk. Plated goods into silver. Common bottles into imported glass. Ordinary pigments into costly dyes. The expensive cargo had not disappeared into the river. Much of it had never boarded. Cyprian found one supposedly lost shipment inside Felmir's later warehouse books. The merchandise had quietly arrived elsewhere before the accident allegedly destroyed it. Elfrida drew a line across the records. Insure expensive goods. Keep them ashore. Load something cheap. Create the accident. Denzel finished. Collect the claim. And blame the carrier. The scheme finally had a shape. Phantom Premium Cargo. Another heavily insured barge was scheduled to leave Lyscombe within 2 days. Its manifest listed French cloth, silver plate, and precision clocks. Elfrida saw the vessel before loading ended. It sat too high. Denzel wanted it stopped immediately. Not yet, she said. If we interfere before they complete the substitution, they will call this suspicion. Independent witnesses watched the warehouse. Premium crates disappeared through one door. Different crates emerged through another. The seals looked identical. Rosamond examined them. Same duplicate die. Tabitha inspected the tow line. Several internal strands had already been weakened. The barge was not merely falsely insured. It was being prepared to fail. This time, the accident never happened. The tow line was replaced publicly. Magistrates witnessed the cargo opening. Inside the supposedly valuable crates were scrap metal, common bottles, cheap cloth, and weighted packing. No silver. No clocks. No French textiles. Sir Jago Sorkeld of King's Reach Mutual called it an isolated warehouse fraud. Elfrida placed 7 previous loss files beside the open crates. 7 isolated accidents have developed remarkably consistent habits. Denzel ordered every Felmir-linked shipment suspended from King's Reach coverage. His advisors warned that the decision could disrupt contracts, credit, and warehouse income. He did not reverse it. Elfrida noticed that too. The man who once believed security came from combining everything beneath his control was beginning to accept financial uncertainty rather than protect a convenient arrangement. Across the quay, the river moved calmly past the vessel that had been meant to sink. This time, the lie had been caught before the current could carry away the evidence. Elfrida built the claims comparison across an entire wall of the Marnock Freight Survey office. 7 major losses. The same rope supplier appeared repeatedly. So did the same claims adjuster. The same valuer. The same warehouse factors. The same insurer. And, almost every time, the same pattern. A premium manifest. A suspiciously light vessel. A sudden failure near a difficult bend. Minimal valuable cargo recovered. A rapid insurance settlement. Carriers blamed. Cyprian traced where the money went afterward. King's Reach Mutual paid the claims, but associated firms profited again through replacement freight contracts, increased premiums, vessel purchases, warehouse commissions, and resale of goods supposedly lost in the river. Then Denzel found Felmir's name among the dividends. 4 years, part of the estate had benefited from those profitable settlements. His expression hardened. These funds go into escrow. One advisor protested. Your Grace, there is no judgment yet. There is enough doubt that I will not spend money possibly earned from another man's ruin. Elfrida wrote the amount into her report. Nothing more. Denzel noticed her lack of praise. For once, he understood that doing the proper thing did not entitle him to gratitude. At Heron Lock, Elfrida decided to make the river itself testify. Merchants, carriers, magistrates, warehousemen, and underwriters gathered along the stone quay. An empty barge matching one involved in a disputed claim was loaded according to the original warehouse record. Fulk Arnstein measured the draft. Then additional weight equivalent to the luxury cargo listed on the insurance version was added. The hull sank visibly lower. Fulk opened his notebook from the day of the supposed loss. The original barge had passed his lock at the higher mark. It could not physically have carried the cargo for which the insurer later paid. Elfrida displayed the duplicate seals. Then the cut towline strands. Then the altered warehouse copies. Then records showing supposedly destroyed goods appearing later under different merchant marks. Sir Jago Sorkeld remained calm. Water conditions vary. Weight does not, Elfrida replied. Around them, the loaded hull sat lower in the lock. The paperwork had told one story. The Timber told another. Kings Reach Mutual held its quarterly settlement day 3 weeks later. Merchants arrived expecting claims, renewals, and premium decisions. Instead, the first matter called was the Bellwater pattern. Elfrida presented the fraud in the order a cargo should travel. Loading. Premium goods withheld. Seal. Duplicate impressions hid substitutions. Weight. Lock records disproved the manifests. Tow. Ropes were deliberately weakened. Loss. Cheap cargo entered the river. Claim. Luxury goods were declared destroyed. Settlement. Insurance money and retained merchandise remained inside connected businesses. Financial records tied Sorkel to the rope supplier, cargo valuer, warehouse factors, claims office, vessel dealer, and merchants reselling supposedly lost goods. Sorkel finally said, "Insurance exists because certainty is impossible." Elfrida looked directly at him. "Uncertainty is not permission to manufacture the loss." Then Denzel submitted Felmir's own preferred insurer agreements. "I accepted convenience because scrutiny had become personally uncomfortable." His eyes briefly found Elfrida's. Commercial negligence does not become innocent because the original discomfort was private. He did not ask her to forgive him. The sentence was not aimed at winning her. That was why she believed it. The Lyscombe freight articles followed. No single insurer would again control valuation, claims adjustment, cargo inspection, and settlement. Warehouse and vessel manifests had to be paired. Cargo seals were registered independently. Major locks recorded draft. Crews received access to manifests. Tow lines required certified inspection. Samples from serious rope failures were retained. Workers could not be charged for equipment failure before independent review. Recovered goods had to remain traceable if they re-entered trade. Tabitha Kern directed rope testing standards. Mabin Kern joined the Carrier Council. Fulk's lock measurements became formal practice. Rosamund Hake supervised seal registration. Elfrida accepted only a rotating professional seat. The Marnock Freight Survey Office remained independent. Felmir received no preferred position. Denzel supported the articles anyway. Not from the head of the table. From an ordinary seat among merchants whose contracts now applied equally to him. Months later, Cyprian had returned fully to work. The suspicious loss rate fell. Carriers once blamed for fraudulent failures received restitution. Elfrida and Denzel saw each other occasionally. He sent no extravagant gifts. No invitations disguised as commercial necessity. No contracts designed to bring her to Felmir. One evening, Elfrida finished inspecting the new rescue station at Bellwater Reach. Denzel waited near the river. "May I walk with you?" She nodded. They stopped near the place where Cyprian had nearly drowned. "The last time I proposed," Denzel said, "I explained everything I could give you. I remember the inventory." A faint smile touched his mouth. "I did not explain what I wanted from you." "And what was that?" "The right to be loved by you without making myself useful enough to purchase it." Elfrida looked toward the current. "I am not asking you to close your office," he continued. "Or combine accounts. Or improve Felmir. Or advise me. An unusually inefficient proposal. I have been educated at considerable expense." This time she smiled. Then he asked only, "May I court you again?" Elfrida let the silence remain long enough that he could not mistake the answer for impulse. "You may." His shoulders eased. Slowly. Slowly, he agreed. 3 years later, they married under a settlement protecting Elfrida's office, income, clients, reports, and professional independence. At Bellwater Reach, Cyprian stood beside them while an ordinary freight barge passed safely downstream. A captain called from the quay. "Is it true Lady Felmir saved Lord Cyprian before knowing who he was?" Cyprian answered. "She knew I was drowning." Apparently that was sufficient introduction. The captain laughed. "And would you have saved him if you knew his brother was the duke you rejected?" Elfrida looked offended. "Of course." Denzel asked. "And would you have rejected me again?" "The first proposal?" "Yes." "Immediately." Cyprian laughed loudest. "And the second?" Denzel asked. Elfrida took his arm. That one knew the difference between offering a life and acquiring one. The river moved quietly past them. It had once delivered a drowning stranger into Elfrida's hands. What followed had been harder to rescue. Truth from pride, kindness from obligation, and love from everything they had once failed to say.